Welcome back. We're continuing on with section P7. Yesterday we talked about solving inequalities, absolute value inequalities that is, and today we're going to be solving quadratic inequalities. I'm going to be showing you how to solve these algebraically. You can also solve them graphically, whichever way you prefer, but today it's all about the algebra. So if we get started, you have the steps there on your pre-printed notes. The first step is to get this compared to 0. So I'm going to subtract 7x and add a 10 to both sides. So I'd end up with x squared minus 7x plus 10 being less than or equal to 0. The next thing we're going to do is find out where this equals 0. So I can do this by factoring, and I'm going to have a product. We're comparing it to 0. So the reason we want to get 0 on one side is because if something is bigger than 0, it's a positive number. If something's less than 0, it's a negative number. So we can find the solutions for our inequality very simply that way. So when I solve this, I end up with x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 5 equaling 0. So x could be 2 or x could be 5. This breaks our number line up into different intervals. This breaks up our interval because this is where this function equals 0. So we just have to check our number line to see which ranges of values will make this true. I do this by way of a chart / table. So those are our boundary points. I leave some space there, and we're going to be checking our signs. I'm a Capricorn. What are you? Oh, anyway, different kind of sign. So x being 2, I split up the number line. I put a 0 above the 2 and go up, and then a 0 above the 5 and I go up. Once I have this split apart, I'm going to take these bit by bit. So I've got the first factor is x minus 2, second factor is x minus 5, and then the product, where you multiply these two together. So I'm going to check all the values going from negative infinity up to 2 and see what it does to our product. Because remember, this product equals this whole guy. So if I'm going to pick 0, you can pick any number in this range to test it. So if I put a 0 in for x, 0 minus 2 would be a negative number. You don't even have to do the math. 0 minus 5 is going to be a negative number, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So that means all the way down to negative infinity, all these values would make that positive or greater than 0. Let's check the range from 2 to 5. I'm going to pick 3. If I put a 3 in for x, 3 minus 2 is a positive number, 3 minus 5 is a negative number, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So the range between 2 and 5, all those numbers, all those x's, if we put them in, would make our expression negative. Lastly, I'm going to try 6. So if I put a 6 in for x, that's going to be positive. 6 in for x on this one, 6 minus 5 would be positive. Positive times a positive is a positive. Your last step, once you have this, you have everything organized, is to find which range makes our inequality true. Well, I want this side to be less than or equal to 0. So the solution is going to be where this is negative, which is between the 2 and the 5. And that's the solution for your quadratic inequality. X is between 2 and 5. Let's look at number 2 here. I'm going to rearrange it so I have x squared being the first term. I've got a negative in front though, and I don't like that. So I'm going to multiply through by -1. Make sure you flip this sign around. So we've got x squared plus x minus 20 greater than 0. So now we've got 0 on one side, and we can factor this. 2 factors of 20 that give us 1 are a -4 and a +5. So this would factor x plus 5 times x minus 4, which means our boundary points are going to be -5 and 4. Draw your number line and put an O above -5 and an O above 4, and that'll help us make our chart. Now then, we're going to check the interval from negative infinity to -5 and see what that does to our product. So -6, if I put that in for x, -6 plus 5 is going to be negative. -6 minus 4 would be negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So all the way down from -5 on down is going to be a positive result. Put in a 0. 0 plus 5 is positive. 0 minus 4 is negative. Positive times a negative is going to give us a negative. So from -5 to 4, it's negative. Put in a 5. 5 plus 5 is positive. 5 minus 4 is positive. Positive times a positive is a positive, so it's going to be a positive from 4 on up. Look back at our problem. We want where it's greater than 0, strictly greater than 0, which would mean the blue pluses and the red pluses are our solution set. So it goes from -5 to -infinity and from 4 to +infinity. We would write that in interval notation as -infinity up to 5 union 4 to +infinity. And that's it. The last two are guided practice for you to do, just to test to see if you can do it. We're going to end here for today, and I will see you later.